To order at 7 p.m. I'm present, of course, with Councillor Conti. Thank you, Councillor Conti. Councillor Conti, my plan for this evening was to begin the discussion on the proposed ordinance to amend the commercial parking, vehicle parking. I've asked Bill McDonough to come and start. My plan is to break the proposed ordinance into sections and talk about them, discuss them, and perhaps vote them by sections because of different issues involved. So I asked Bill if he would come down and talk to us about the definition sections.
You can divide them up by sections, but it's one motion because it's one. It's all one ordinance.
Okay.
So it's a good idea to divide them all up, so that if there's any editing, we can do that and then vote on
the one
at the end. Yep.
Understood. So what I would propose then, if you agree, I'll read it into the record tonight to get that out of the way.
Yes.
And then Bill can help us, guide us through the definitions, and we'll go from there. Nothing's going to be voted out tonight. I just wanted to start the conversation because I anticipate amendments and stuff. So if I may, I will read the proposed amendment into the record. So I'll start with amending Chapter 10 of the revised ordinances by deleting in its entirety Section 10-5.13, limited for commercial vehicles and trailers, and replacing it with 10-5.13, parking of commercial vehicles. Unless contrary to Massachusetts general law, the Attleboro Home Rule Charter, or other provisions of these revised ordinances, the following shall apply. A. Definitions. 1. Commercial vehicle, as used in this chapter and wherever else said term appears in the revised ordinances, shall mean any motor vehicle which is not a private passenger vehicle, antique motive car, motorcycle, camper, recreational vehicle, or auto home or house trailer. A commercial motor vehicle shall include A. Vehicles having a gross vehicle weight rating or gross combination weight rating of 10,001 or more pounds. B. School buses and vehicles designed to transport more than 10 passengers, including the driver. C. Taxi cabs, ambulances, hearses, and livery vehicles. D. Vehicles used in the transportation of hazardous materials in a quantity requiring placarding in accordance with the hazardous materials regulations of the United States Department of Transportation. E. A single, full, or semi-trailer used in commerce with a manufacturer's gross vehicle weight rating of over 3,000 pounds. F. Any vehicle which has a vehicle weight or curb weight of more than 6,000 pounds, as per the manufacturer's description of said vehicle, unless such vehicle is a sport utility vehicle or passenger van, or a pickup truck or cargo van meeting the definition of a private passenger vehicle. Or G, any vehicle which has 5 or more wheels on the ground, except a pickup truck that is registered to an individual and is used exclusively for personal, recreational, or commuting purposes. Or H, tow trucks, meaning any vehicle equipped with a crane-type device for and ordinarily used to tow disabled motor vehicles by means of lifting at least one axle off the ground. And I, commercial heavy vehicles as defined in Section 10-4.153 of these revised ordinances. 2. Private passenger vehicle shall mean a motor vehicle that is not a commercial vehicle, and A, which has a vehicle weight rating or curb weight of 6,000 pounds or less, as per manufacturer's description of said vehicle, or is a sport utility vehicle or passenger van, or which is a pickup truck or cargo van of the half-ton, three-quarter-ton, or one-ton class, as per manufacturer's description of said vehicle. And B, which, if a pickup truck or cargo van is registered or leased to an individual and is used exclusively for personal, recreational, or commuting purposes. B, prohibitions. 1. Subject to sections 10-5.6 and 10-6.6, no person shall park or stand any commercial vehicle for more than 1 hour on any street or highway where parking is not otherwise prohibited, providing that this ordinance shall not apply, A, during the loading, unloading, or delivery of goods or materials, or B, during the performance of construction or repair services on a city street or highway or at a business, residence, or property. 2, no property owner, occupant, or other person shall park or store or permit the parking or storage of a commercial vehicle on any residential property, provided that this ordinance shall not apply, A, during the loading, unloading, or delivery of goods or materials, B, during the performance or construction or during the performance of construction or repair services to a residence or property, or C, if such vehicle is a tow truck parked at the residence of the driver on duty when such tow truck or tow company is under contract to conduct towing or like operations for the Attleboro Police Department. Tow trucks meeting this description must use all reasonable measures to minimize the use of lights and sounds associated with their operation when departing and returning to or parked at the residence. C, enforcement and penalties. In each day on which a violation occurs shall result in a separate offense. D, exceptions. 1, this section shall not apply to federal, state, or city law enforcement vehicles or federal, state, or city municipal vehicles. 2, the chief of police or his or her designee may defer application of the section for a period of no more than 7 days upon a finding by the chief of police or his or her designee that compliance with the requirements of this section would cause undue hardship to the property owner or occupant. Thank you, Councilor Conti. So that is the language proposed. And my intention this evening was to have Bill, number one, explain to us why, because I worked on this with Bill and Gary and Chief Hegney, and I was hoping Bill would explain to the committee why he desired a definition of commercial vehicles, how we together came up with the definition as it stands, and to ask Bill if he has any, opinions about what may need to be revised or changed at this point in time. So just by way of history, why this is before the committee, I was contacted by a resident with the whole issue about the tow truck parking. And I reached out to get information about the whole issue about the tow truck parking. And I reached out to get information about the situation and learn more about it. And Bill pointed out that there was no definition of commercial vehicles in the ordinances, so we started with that. And then from the definition of commercial vehicle, I went to the prohibitions, some of which are very similar to the existing prohibitions, changed them a little bit, and then wrote in the exemption, the proposed exemption for the tow truck vehicles as asked by the resident, and then increased the penalties. So that's kind of how everything came together. There are issues involved at all different parts of these, but I think at the very least, the commercial vehicle definition part is important to Bill. And Bill, if you want to come up and tell the committee your thoughts on why you would like it and what do you think of the definition of it as it stands?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head right there. We come across this more times than just the one time that you just spoke of, and it can be a hairy situation without having a definition. Somebody's parking their box truck for their plumbing company at their house, and it's a eyesore for the neighborhood, things like that, without having a definition for it and really a path to put that in violation. It was kind of a backdoor in by the accessory use thing that we had, that we were falling upon before. So I think without having that definition in place, it puts up such a gray area that myself or even the police would have a hard time justifying putting somebody in violation, telling them they can't do it.
Right.
So that's where and this has been like this for years. I remember when Doug was here, we had the same discussions. At one point, at that point, it was about school buses. That was the kind of what was drawing the conversation at that time. And I think at that time, I think the discussion came up, and I think that I think people were leery about sticking a definition on it because it's kind of a myriad of different things there.
It's tricky. So just to be clear, Bill, the definition of commercial vehicle contained in Chapter 10 would help you to do your job in terms of the zoning ordinances, right?
Well, it would, yes and yes, it would definitely help because, but it also puts the onus on the police department here as well because it takes it out of the zoning bylaw, basically. Chapter 17 puts into Chapter 10, so I think it's a better place to be able to do it because of the fining situation and things like that. It's much easier for the police to write the ticket for it. The police also do unregistered vehicles. If somebody has more than one unregistered vehicle on their property, that's the police jurisdictions to take care of that as well. So this is kind of a similar situation.
Okay. Yes, Councilor Garton.
So, Bill, it goes back even before the school buses.
I'm sure it does.
It started with a plumber's big red truck in a neighborhood. And we dealt with it then, and we thought that by putting a weight limit that we could take care of the problem that way. And there was a lot of discussion on the council on what would constitute a commercial vehicle. I like this, and if you like it because you think you could.
Looked at what the just before I came in here, I looked at what the average weight of vehicles in 2021 are. The average weight of a passenger car is just over 4,000 pounds now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, a Toyota Camry is 3,300 pounds, and your regular SUV is up the high end of 4,000. So they're up there, and again, and even who knows, I'm not sure what the ratio is per batteries with engines, but the more electric vehicles out there, I would imagine that they're not going to be much lighter.
And so what we tried to do in crafting this was to find a balance, to not be overly restrictive, because I think in Boston, there was one policy or one ordinance that said if you had commercial plates, which,
yes.
No, we're not doing that.
Yeah,
because
well, back in the day, you know, you had to show
Yeah.
the lettering, the size of the lettering on your vehicles. Now, if you're
Yep.
leased to Sensata and you have a leased vehicle, it's going to have a commercial plate on it, even
Yeah.
if it doesn't say Sensata on the
Exactly.
side of it. You know,
So I knew right off the bat, we're not going down that road, so we tried to strike a balance that was practical and somewhat enforceable without somebody having to go out there and weigh and measure and do all this, finagling. So tried to be straightforward and reasonable. Bill, having reread it now a couple of times, is there anything here that you think we should change or modify?
No,
at
I don't
this
think
point?
so.
Okay.
I don't think so. I mean, we've gone over it a few times, and what I see in there is enforceable. I think it's fair, and I think it's fair. Some might say it's not going to be fair to the plumber with the box truck, right? But it's fair to the people that live next door to
belong to the business, so there's no vetting anymore for home occupations because it's an automatic granting.
Well, I will, to add to that, I will say that if somebody does do a home occupation, and they get a license from the city clerk does have them do a checklist, and on that checklist, there's questions on there. All of those questions have to be answered no before they just do it, let them do it. If there's one of those answers that says yes, then that's referred to me, and then I talk to them about going to the zoning board if it's necessary. Those answers, one of which is if you're having customers come to the house, and if you're going to have any commercial vehicles parked on the site. So if it is that, then that is when they're still have the opportunity to go for special permit for the home occupation to allow the parking of that. But that's still enforceable. We do have an out with that aspect of it, but that also allows the box truck plumber in the certain circumstances, if it's compatible with the neighborhood, that he would be able to park it there by special permit.
So, Madam Chair, I'm in support of the ordinance because it's a neighborhood preservation ordinance, and I support that. It's been very clear through my years serving as a counselor. People telling me that they don't want buses parked next door. They don't want commercial vehicles next door, and it's their right to feel that way. And it's our job to give them what they want. So I'm behind it all the way.
So you could, yes, Councilor Dolan.
Just regarding the tow trucks, I thought we were going to make that a separate vote.
Well, that just means that a tow truck is a commercial vehicle.
But it just says, meeting description must use all reasonable measures to minimize the use of lights and sounds and...
Yep, so the first part of the discussion that we have right now pertains only to the definition sections, not the prohibition sections.
Oh, all right.
So I asked Bill to come in and to tell the council why he liked this definition, to suggest any changes that he think appropriate, because I know President Cooper had some questions about what may or may not fall under the definition. Yes, Council Conti.
Through the chair, Councilor Dolan, were you referring to H under definitions?
I was referring to B prohibitions, number 2,
Okay.
letter C.
Okay, because there is a tow truck in the definition, under H.
Right, I got that, but I apparently read ahead, so.
Yeah, so,
Landscape, trailers, trucks.
Well, if it fits the definition of, if it fits this definition of commercial
Yeah,
vehicle, then it would not be allowed.
okay.
If it fits the definition. Now, you have to remember too, is a personal vehicle in there, let's say your pickup truck,
Yeah,
you're also a carpenter, right? And you've got, it's a commercial truck because you use
Yeah.
it for your carpentry, right? You have a toolbox thing on the back of it, but it's also your personal vehicle. There's talk that that's not going to fit under the same, that's not going to be considered a commercial vehicle.
so a person driving, say for instance, a plumber's van or a painter with racks on it and ladders, that's not going to be considered a
A
commercial
pickup truck
vehicle?
or what size vehicle,
Half-ton pickup,
right?
3/4 ton.
That would not in my definition, that would not if
That
it's his
could
own,
park-
not
that-
if it's his own personal vehicle as well.
Okay, so that's when the 10,000 pounds comes into effect?
6,000.
Well, 6,000.
It's on, under F.
6,001
I haven't
pounds.
got a copy of it.
Oh, sorry, Peter.
I haven't got a copy, and that was a question that's been asked to me, so.
Right here on F. And here he's talking 6,000.
But you also have to understand that it says, like, that 6,000 pounds is also a description says that unless the vehicle is a sports utility vehicle, passenger van, or pickup truck, if that meets the definition of the private vehicle. So if you've got a pickup truck that's got racks and ladders and stuff on
You're
it,
using it for business.
and you're using it completely for business, then that would be considered a commercial vehicle and would need a special permit.
Yeah, but if the gentleman, owner of that vehicle says, I use it for my personal use also.
I think that there's going to always be those areas that are going to have to be
Right.
looked at between myself and Kyle.
Okay.
And I think that judgment's an easier judgment to make with a definition in our hand for it. So if that painter has 3 or 4 of these trucks in his yard, that's not going to work.
That's not gonna work. I
So there's,
understand
it's
that.
obviously not going to work. He's got a fleet of trucks
But
there. He
you
has
know-
one, and that's his every daily driver, and it's a regular, F-150, F-250, like the guy who lives right next door to him. I don't see that being an issue.
No, but you see it more than I do. Most
Yeah.
of these contractors, plumbers, electricians, carpenters, right? They use that pickup truck, that van, that unit that's under 10,000 pounds or whatnot. They use it for their own personal use, but it's mainly used for business.
Right. Like I said, I think it's going to be a case-by-case type of thing. I mean, to an extent, I don't mean it, that it's that arbitrary. I mean, I think that I haven't run into an awful lot of complaints to my office regarding those situations. It's more of, even the plumbing one that you're speaking of, I think I know which one you're speaking of. We haven't had those type of complaints hardly at all. It's been more of the larger truck, the obvious commercial vehicles.
Myself personally, I want it so that there is something that you can go to and Kyle can go to if this particular person isn't being a good neighbor and he does rattle his neighbor, that neighbor has a right to say, look, that's a commercial vehicle, I don't want to look at it.
Yeah, and I think that this helps
And-
for
and-
sure with that. Definitely.
Councilor Conti, being in the real estate business himself, and necessity, you know what that does to the value of a home in that area, in the area of this violation. So I just
understand
want to
where you're
make
coming
sure that that doesn't happen.
I understand. I think that, I don't know if there's a definite line that you can put in a definition,
Oh, it's tough, it's
you know,
tough.
to be able to take, you know, an F-250 that I drive every day and an F-250 next door that's all beat up and got paint all over it and paint cans hanging from it with a ladder on top of it.
Right.
Right? It's the
That's
same
being-
truck, you know what I'm
That's being a
saying?
good neighbor, Bill. And most times when even a contractor, a carpenter, a plumber, electrician that drives a smaller vehicle, right, and he's a good neighbor, he doesn't get that complaint.
Right. But I think if he's driving a smaller vehicle that's similar to the one that the neighbor can be driving, I think he has the right to have it anyways, as long as he doesn't have a fleet of vehicles like that.
Yeah. Okay, I just want to make sure I'm reading this right, and that the average resident has an avenue.
Does, but much more today, much more after this than they would before, for sure.
Okay, I want to make sure that avenue's in there for that resident to make a complaint, a legitimate complaint, and it be taken care of because there is a law in force that pertains to that.
I think that the way that the, not to jump too far ahead, but the way that the penalties and stuff are put in there, I think that helps, you know, with having a written warning at first and having it escalate up to be
Yeah.
like, okay, and then it's like, no, look, now it's time. And I think that part of it helps too.
Oh, and I know that by having it in writing and someplace to look for it, it's far better off. I had a situation where they were going to park a trailer truck between my house and the next house, my own personal. I went out one day, they're clearing a lot, and they're backing in a semi, right? And I tried to explain to the lady next door, can't do that, it's against zoning.
I remember actually writing
And
a
the
violation.
police said, as long as it's not parked on the street,
Yeah, they couldn't do
got nothing to
anything.
do with us.
But I remember writing a violation to that person.
Yeah, it actually got written. I asked, it was Doug, I think, you were working, I said, would you please go down and explain it to this lady? And whoever went down couldn't explain it, wrote a citation, right? She wasn't willing to accept it, but there are those cases, and I only mention it because I knew how it worked personally, and I want it to be available to whoever has to enforce it, that there's an ordinance that says you can't do it.
Well, on that note, Bill, can the conversation proceed to the prohibitions now? And Bill, would you stick around and offer your comments? So, under B, prohibitions, the first one is very similar to the ordinance as it currently stands, and it concerns parking commercial vehicles on any street or highway. Pretty straightforward. It's basically the same language I think I used in the existing ordinance. So I don't know if anybody has any, Bill, if you have any comments or thoughts on section 1 under prohibitions?
No, like you said, that's pretty straightforward.
Yeah. Okay, so section 2 is the change. It does two things, right? We prohibit commercial parking, vehicle parking on residential property, number 1. And then number 2, there's that proposed exemption to that rule with the tow trucks. So, yeah. So this to me is the more interesting, potentially problematic part of the...
Well, the first part's the easy part, right?
Yes.
The first part is the reason why
Yeah.
we put the definition in, right?
Yep.
Then the second part is, that's up to you guys,
Yes.
you know?
So any thoughts or comments from my fellow councilors concerning section 1, the first prohibition as to parking on streets? Yes, Councilor.
How do we amend that? Because I personally would vote against a tow truck being parked in a residence.
Oh, yeah, that's section 2, Councilor Blair.
Okay.
Section 1 is pretty much a reiteration of the current ordinance concerning parking commercial vehicles on streets or highways, unless they're loading or unloading or, performing services.
Go ahead, excuse me.
Councilor Dolan.
If I may, Bill, so do you think under, the problems I have with my car dealerships and them unloading vehicles where they're not supposed to, do you think something should be in here regarding that? That just made me think, because clearly...
Well, I don't know if it needs to specifically be in here with that, but I think it calls out in their licensing where their unloading and unloading is supposed to be, correct?
Is that further down? Did I miss that?
No. In when you're doing a Class 2 license, Isn't that part of where their loading and unloading spots are? Is that a part in there? Isn't there a part in the licensing point when somebody comes up for a license? Is there talk about loading and unloading? Because I know on the parking plan that they give, there's a loading and unloading spot on their property.
You've seen these lot plans, Bill, right?
I did. I have many, and
And you've seen what they look like, right?
yes.
And do you think the unloading and loading is clear on those
Well, I
lot
mean,
plans?
there's a couple different ways you can go with that, right? I mean, let's say Home Depot pulls up in front of a business and they're unloading with pallets with their little truck on the back of and they're unloading lumber and stuff and dropping it there. Is that different than when they're unloading or loading cars? I'm just saying that why would we specifically not allow that to happen? But because per this, they have, what, an hour's worth of time to load or unload?
Yes.
I need to think about that. I need to do some research on that.
I
because-
haven't thought about that angle on it, but I'm just off the top of my head, I'm thinking that, but
Because
I know where
think-
you're going with it.
Right,
I
because
know
in
it's an
my
issue.
head, this is like my neighbor gets a because sometimes Home Depot comes like on a flatbed, and then they have to get whatever that little machine is
The
to
Moffett,
get,
yeah.
whatever, to get the wood off. And it's loud, whatever, but it's temporary. Someone's getting their fence delivered or all their wood for their shed. That's all fine and dandy because that's just life. When it's 1 a.m. and my car,
It's
They
part of
can
their
only-
special permit
Yeah.
they're specific because they needed a special permit, and part of their special permit and site plan because it was a new building.
Right.
So when they went ahead and they did that, they were told that they had to load and unload their vehicles on the property. They were unloading and unloading
One of the
from Horton
streets.
Street, or the side on the left if you're on Route 1A, that we kept going after them. We made them put signs up and everything. Now I've been told that they're unloading on the other side street that really barely gets used, but it's still a side
There's
street.
commercial buildings, it's not. really-
Right, but it's still a side street.
right, and when I
So
think
if they're
back,
not doing it supposed to do it on one, they shouldn't be doing it on the other. The lot's big enough, they should be pulling in and unloading it there.
Yeah.
It's easier for the driver, right, to pull in, unload, get back in his truck and
Truck and
keep
go.
driving.
Yeah, it's most of the time laziness.
I need to look at that because I don't remember any language in their application that says that.
And we can also moving forward with when I get new parking plans, I can highlight loading and unloading areas, asking if they're not showing it, to
Provided they
provide
bring
it,
it
to
to
say
you.
where it is, not that it's on the street, things like that.
Provided they bring it to you for signature, right?
That's the renewals, yeah. The originals, they do, obviously, but we'll work on that.
Anyway, we'll discuss that later, but that just made me think of it.
All right, fair enough. So we're not probably going to vote on it tonight anyway. Anybody else have issues with the first paragraph, the general prohibition against parking commercial vehicles on streets or highways? Okay. The second paragraph is where it gets interesting because this concerns people parking commercial vehicles on residential property, whether it's theirs or someone else's. So we can discuss that generally, and then depending upon how that goes, the
In the neighborhood, agreeing. And how much is a neighborhood? You know, if I'm driving by it, going to my house at the end of the cul-de-sac, you know, that's in my neighborhood. So if there's a way to relieve it by giving, you know, if the signatures of all the abutters, I don't know, 300 feet, 1,000 feet,
Yeah.
1,000 foot.
Go home. It's potato. And I think, you know, I understand your point, and I think it would be tough to determine. You know, you'd have to use like the GIS like they do for sending out a butters list because, you know, I have a house that's in the woods behind my house, but it's completely down the street and up a dirt path, but I can hear them when they have a party, you know? So I'm not really for that. I think that would be hard. People sell their houses, move, so on and so forth. You'd have to redo it, la, la, la. In my opinion, I know I'm not part of your committee. Commercial, whether you own it or not, no. That's just my opinion.
So, am I understanding that so far the discussion is generally in favor of prohibiting the commercial vehicles as they're defined on residential property?
Yeah, I'm so hard on this that I feel that this case that brought this all together should be resolved by the fact that even if you work for the police department towing cars, the truck is in the police parking lot. You get a call, you get out of bed, you get in your car, you go to the police department, pick up your tow truck and go. because the 10 minutes that are a difference there is going to inconvenience a few people, but your neighbors can sleep through the night.
Right. But that's the exemption part. But before we even get there, I would say my concern perhaps about just having this prohibition is enforcement. You know, I don't want a neighbor, and Council Blair, you would know better than I, are people going to be calling, oh, my neighbor's parked? I'm sure Chief Hagney's not going to be loving necessarily getting some of these calls, so I don't want to set the police department up for, you know, I don't know. That's just my concern, is this could this turn into some kind of...
Well, you do have a new traffic control unit
Yeah.
Coming, yeah.
But I think you have to, I think you have to put number 2 in there, or else why did we do the definition at all? I think that, you know, I think that if you did number 2 up with A and B, and you took C out of it, that's basically, you know, without talking about putting the tow truck
Yep.
thing into it, that's kind of what we're talking about,
Okay.
right?
Yep.
We've got the definition of commercial vehicles. The reason why we're doing that is so we can separate, so we can have a way to make sure we keep commercial vehicles out of residential areas, because we don't really at the moment.
Right.
And then number 2 basically states that in being able to park a commercial vehicle under a special permit through the zoning board for an extenuating circumstance, maybe it's a tow truck, and maybe you're in a neighborhood where the neighbors don't mind. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if that is a part of a solution, or if a solution is even needed. That's up to you guys. But
All right. Fair enough. Any more comments on the general prohibition? Yes, Councilor Dolan.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I agree with Bill up until, like, C, as far as I'm concerned, it is like Councilor Conti said, no. I don't agree with that. And I feel when you said about Chief Hagney, I really don't feel like he's going to get any more complaints than he does now.
Okay.
Because I just don't think that the Attleboro is going to be aflutter with talking, oh, did you hear about the new ordinance?
Okay, fair enough.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think if they're going to complain, they're going to complain, and they're not going to know the definition. So if I have some big truck that has the backup lights and the backup beeping, I'm complaining.
Yep.
Regardless. I don't know how much it weighs. I don't know anything. And then if Chief Hagney comes to my house and they say, too bad, it falls under whatever, then I know. You know what I mean? I don't think anybody's I don't think all of a sudden it's gonna be like a flurry of calls. Just my opinion.
If we leave it the way it's written and don't exempt tow trucks, then he has an avenue. If you call and complain, you know, section 2-1, blah, 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 says these vehicles shall not be parked in a residential area. It's black and white.
Okay.
If you leave it gray,
Yeah. Councilors want to chime in on your thoughts on the exemption, Council Blair?
I'm totally against it.
Yeah, I suspected.
No,
I'm suspecting it's not
you
you.
asked for the
Yeah,
record.
no, absolutely.
For the record,
Yep.
right? Because
Understood. Understood. Council Dolan, you have...
Yeah, I mean, clearly I've made it pretty clear how I feel. And it's your committee, so if you all want to delete it completely, it's your committee. If you want to separate it out and let the full council vote on it, it's your prerogative. It's your committee. And if this is separated out, I won't support it.
Understood. Understood.
I would be against tow truck exemption
Yeah.
too.
So you've got 4 people here who are
I
saying.
know. And I have to tell you, I'm not a huge fan of it myself. I just felt that, I felt that, that in fairness to the request,
Sure.
that it should be put up for a vote and discussion.
And I say sometimes you just have to say no.
Yep. Yeah, I think there's several reasons why I wouldn't support it. I think the police chief has offered up a pretty good compromise of letting the trucks park on the police lot. I also am concerned about, and Bill warned me of this, about opening a can of worms here, going down this, okay, who's next for the exemption? So I'm inclined to not support it either. I just think it creates perhaps more problems than it solves. And I say that in all due respect to the tow truck company, but I just don't think that it's a good idea. Council Conti, may I ask your opinion? Do you think we should leave it up to the full council, or just?
That's the job of the committee. I think we should take it out in committee.
Yeah.
Because you're getting a very
Simplify.
strong indication here
Okay.
that you're going to lose support for,
Fair enough.
for the motion.
All right. All right, then I will move to strike Section C.
Actually, you can't make the
I
motion because you're
will-
the chair, so I'll make the
Councilor
motion
Conti.
that we strike that measure.
All of Section C.
Be right for the total.
Yep. Okay. All right, all those in favor?
That needs a second.
Second.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so Section C is stricken concerning the tow truck exemption. All right, moving on to enforcement and penalties. I don't know if you have anything you want to say on that part, Bill?
I love it.
Okay.
My name's not in there. But
So-
Kyle knows that I'll help in the same instance with unregistered vehicles. A
Yeah.
lot of those complaints come to me first. I actually try to mitigate it before I send it to them. So I work well with him on these things. So again, even with the multiple phone calls that you might have been worried about,
Yeah.
okay, we help out as well.
Thank you, Bill. So the biggest thing this does, well, first of all, it raises the penalty from 15. You do get a warning the first time, but then it goes up to a $100 violation, so it's got a little bit bigger bite. And then after that, subsequent violations, so it packs a little more punch. But other than that, and it does, by the chief suggested that we carve out exceptions for, municipal vehicles, city, state, federal vehicles, so that's in there by Kyle's suggestion, which I thought was important. Anybody else have comments, questions about the penalty section? All right, well, very good. Any other comments about the ordinance as it stands with the amendment we made? Yes, Councilor Dolan.
I just want to, commend you and your committee on this. I think it was really needed. The definitions were needed. You spelled it out. I think it's excellent, and I think it was long overdue. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Councilor Dolan. Can we vote it out of committee and you perhaps propose your amendment concerning the licenses part, the part you were talking about with Bill with the unloading of vehicles?
Now, that should be in her license committee.
Yeah,
Oh, okay, so that's nothing that's going to affect the amendment, the proposed amendment.
Right.
Yeah,
Just wanna
worst
say one
case,
last thing.
I can bring something out as new business later.
Okay. I'm sorry, Councilor Conti.
I just want to say one last thing. I don't believe that this is the end of this, because I've been here too long. So, I've said before, the council can create things and the council can undo things, and that's what we do all the time. So, Councilor, I'm trying to get some comfort out of you that we've always got an opportunity to go back and change this a little bit later, and
Yep.
same with you, Councilor.
That's why they call it the revised ordinances, right?
We can change this as we see the needs fit. If there's an unintended consequence in here that we didn't see coming, we can fix it.
Yep.
So, I like it the way it is now, and I think it's gonna go through the council the way it is now, but don't be surprised if it comes back to you again, to be edited again, because it seems like every 5 years we go through this, and in this case, I think it's warranted, and I think you've done a great job tackling the two of you.
I think we'll get it
done a
this
fine
time.
job, and you being the one responsible, I'm glad you've been involved in this, because
Yes, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to neglect you, Bill. I think you're a genius.
Councilor Conti, would you like to move to have a vote on it, get out of committee tonight?
Yes, let's move the question. Call for a vote.
All those in favor of moving? Aye. Okay, so it's, motion passes. Thank you very much, everybody, for your contributions.
Technically, after you voted on moving the question, now we have to vote on approving the
Oh,
ordinance.
yes, okay, yes, okay. I move on it?
No, we voted on moving the question,
Yep.
which means no more discussion.
Okay.
Now we have to vote to approve.
Okay. I would then move to approve the amendment to revised ordinances 10-5.13.
Just calls for a vote. All in favor?
All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. All right, very good. All right, thank you, everybody, for your contributions. Councilor Conti, that's all I have for this evening. The Traffic Study Commission has been on break over the summer. We're reconvening on September 16th, and their docket is filling up with issues that have arisen over the summer, so.
Is the traffic study fully staffed now?
No, I think
How
we
many
have,
positions are vacant?
I believe just one. We have one member who's been out for personal reasons, and I believe there's still one vacant. So I was going to talk to the mayor about that as well. But we do have a couple of new members that have been very involved, so we'll have a lot to do when we reconvene in September for sure.
I will bring it up when I speak with the mayor as well.
Okay. All right, then I would move to adjourn the meeting at
Second.
7:45. Thank you, Councilor Conti. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good evening, Julia.
Hi.
Would you please state your name, your address, how long you live in Attleboro?
Juliet Texera, in 5 Hanish Road in Attleboro, and I've been here since 1990.
1990, and it was
So that's
5, what
31
road?
years. What?
What was the road?
Hanish.
Okay.
Hanish Road.
Okay.
Hanish Road.
Hanish Road, all right. So, you are interested in serving on the Board Council on Aging. And I appreciate your interest in that. And before any motions, would you just share a little of your background? Some of us probably do know you, but not all of us perhaps.
So, I mean,
And particularly what you've done for the city,
okay,
which
so,
I'm very impressed by.
yeah, so, I mean, I've been in Attleboro since 1990. I was on the school committee representing Ward 2 in 1994 to 1997. I've been involved in a lot of human rights activities and actually was one of the people who helped draft an ordinance to have a council on human rights in the city. And I served on that council many years later for a number of years until 2019. I've worked in both nonprofit administration, and then in the latter part of my career, I worked in the corporate world in IT and software quality assurance, and as a project manager. I recently retired. I retired in October. So I had an interest in the Council on Aging. I sort of crossed that threshold. Well, I know that the council is supposed to be 60 and up. I'm a little older than that.
We're not asking ages.
Yeah, I know you're not. But I've had an interest in terms of what the council does and what it does for the city, but also I wanted to get involved because I think I'm a little bit of a different demographic than what that council is serving in a demographic that's up and coming. So I am a younger senior, active senior. I think the Council on Aging, from what I observe, and I've been taking part in some of the activities this summer, has tended to have an older clientele, which is fine. And I know that they're trying to do some programs also to get some of the more active seniors and a little bit on the younger side. So I'm actually leading a hiking group on Monday mornings for the Council on Aging, sort of in conjunction, taking in Hike Attleboro, as well as Hike Attleboro's, some of the different sites. And I say I'm a different demographic. I'm that baby boomer coming in. I'm an active senior. I'm also a foster parent. So and it's not something that we have a lot of seniors and a lot of grandparents who are raising their grandkids, which I don't have grandkids, but these kids came into my life. They were probably the closest that I have as grandkids. So, and that, sometimes we just have to do what we have to do to support our families and our extended community. So, so I am that senior with younger kids in my household as well. So I have an interest, and I know that we are looking, hopefully, to at some point get a new center or move into a center. There's a lot of looking around. Attleboro has, I believe, the smallest senior center, at least in Bristol County. One of the smaller ones in the state, and so. I don't have an interest. I think that I can bring a lot to the council.
Well, thank you. Councilor Conti.
Julia, it's nice to see you again. It's been a while.
Yes, it has.
You both have whiter hair. I enjoyed working with you in the past, and I'm sure you're going to be a great addition to the Council on Aging. And even if there's no near-term plans to move that building, I know you're dedicated to do the best you can with what you've got at hand. And I had a conversation with Melissa Tucker this week exactly about that, that you can't plan on, just wishing and hoping that you're going to be moving someplace new.
It's not gonna happen right
You
away.
got to make it work where you are right now.
Yeah,
But you've got a great team there on the Council on Aging, and in my mind, you're like the Energizer Bunny. I mean, you're retired, and here you are volunteering for the Council on Aging. Kudos to you, Juliet. I'm nowhere near retiring, so I can't relate, but it's sure nice to keep busy, and you're doing the right thing, and I appreciate it. Thank you. That concludes my comments.
Are there any other concerns?
Councilwoman Mayor?
Okay, I wasn't sure.
Thank you.
Please, go ahead, Councilman Dees.
I have had the opportunity to work and engage with Juliet on a couple of other things in the city, and I think she will bring a unique and thoughtful perspective to service on the Council of Aging Board. She's a very interesting person, very thoughtful, and I think you'll be excellent, and thank you for volunteering.
thank you.
Councilor Dolan.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you for volunteering, and I love everything you said, and the fact that you have foster children. When you talk about community, clearly you're about community as a whole, everybody, and I like that. And the Hike Attleboro thing is fantastic. Well, I know you're taking advantage of the Hike Attleboro and doing your own thing with the Council on Aging, but that's great, and that I think you'll be a huge asset. And I appreciate you volunteering.
Thank you. I mean, I did, just to add on, that I have been on the board of directors of the Attleboro Land Trust, so the Hike Attleboro piece, there's a little bit of involvement there as well, so it's part of, a piece of trying to marry
Good.
what the city's doing with Hike Attleboro. It's a great collaboration of the city along with a few organizations, and then getting our seniors out to some of those sites. So
Absolutely.
most of our residents don't even know that they're there. So, yeah, I understand that something like a facility or a new facility is, it's not a short-term goal. It's actually a longer-term goal. But I think we're seeing that we probably need to do something and to make that work. But I do understand that.
Councilor Blair?
All set.
Oh, you're all set. I just want to add that having served with you for almost a year on Council on Human Rights, that I know that you're a real worker. You basically held together that council when we had very few people for a while. And you helped bring aboard a group of new members to that council and educated us as to the purpose, and you helped inspire new growth there, and I was very impressed. So thank you for what you did there.
Thank you.
Shall we go forward with a motion? I entertain a motion to approve the appointment of Juliet Texera of 5 Hanish Road to fill an unexpired term on the Council on Aging, term to expire February 2024.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion?
No.
Not seeing any. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And no opposition. And we will move on to the council at the next council meeting, and the whole council will vote. So thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay. I would like to just mention, this is not a motion, but we do have in our committee a resolution commemorating the 20th anniversary of the September 11th, 2001 terrorist attack. And I was going to ask if Councilor DeSimone had anything at this time that you wanted to say regarding that.
I'm happy to say that everybody has signed it. So my plan, respectfully, Councilor Waterman, was to read it at the September 7th full council meeting to, of course, remind people and encourage people to participate in any events or occasions in the spirit of service, and also to inform people about the POW MIA 9/11 event on the 18th. And anything else that may be going on in the city. So at this time, I would ask if we could wait and read it before the full council on the 7th.
We will wait. But thank you very much for the work you have done and will be doing on that. And we have one other item this evening from the docket of September 7th, 2021. I entertain a motion to transfer $8,020 $20 from account 1124100 dash 578300 citywide reserve fund for transfer to account 1543100 dash 558315 veterans replacement flags for funds to replace flags that have become dry and brittle. Thank you. And I would just like to read for a second what, and this is for the public as well, what Ben Queller, veterans agent, has written regarding the need for new flags. He says currently his office, the Veterans Office, has a replacement of flags fund of $4,750. After conducting flag replacement in the field of flags prior to Memorial Day, I have discovered that many of the reused grave flags have become dry and brittle. This batch has been used for the third time, and the flags for graves must be unused, so they only use them one time on graves. The volume used each year totals 3,700 flags for graves and 3,600 flags for the field of flags during Memorial Day. So the U.S. flag maker has provided the requested product at the most competitive price, and so therefore the Veterans Office is requesting $8,020 for purchase of new flags. And he told me today that it would last 2, possibly 3 years.
So these, excuse me, these flags are available and we need them.
That's right.
Is what you're saying. The ones we have aren't adequate to properly honor our veterans.
I agree.
So, with that being said, I think it's the appropriate thing we do.
Are there any other comments anybody has? Okay, then I would call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Seeing no opposition, vote passes 2-0. And that concludes the business of the Veterans, Human Services, and Personnel Committee. And this evening we'll meet at the next appropriate time.
Thanks, Ty.
Call for an adjournment.
I call for adjournment.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
I'd like to call the Public Works Committee to order at 7:58. Here tonight is just me and myself and Councilor DeSimone, and we have a guest this evening. Bill, would you like to come up?
Sure.
So this is to discuss a new vehicle for the inspection department. What would you like to tell us? We know that you haven't had a new vehicle in like 11,
Well, it's not, I'm not up to cry about
or
not
ever.
having a new vehicle.
You usually get the hand-me-downs from the police
Yeah.
department, right?
Well, we have 3 vehicles in our fleet. We used to have 4. We don't. We did away with one of our with an inspector. We consolidated that. We enforced our crew so we could do it without it. We like a nice tight crew that does. But and we know that we can proceed with the crew that we have. We don't need to. I'm not going to be coming up here next year because we're so busy that I need somebody else. We just went through 2 of the busiest years I've ever been around, and we flying colors, you know. But we have two pickup trucks. We have an F-250 that was the most recent new vehicle we purchased, and that is a 2014. We did that in conjunction with the highway department so that we could plow in the wintertime with it. The truck's in great shape. It's probably got about 50,000 miles on it. We intend to have it for another 10 years. We have an F-150 that's 2 years older than that. It was new in 2012. That is, again, that has a lesser use than the other one, but that still is around 55,000 miles, perfectly good shape. Plan on having that for another 10 years. The vehicle that I drive, I had been driving an old Crown Vic that was passed down. I usually get the surplus cars from the police department. That's how we usually replenish our vehicles. Now I drive another vehicle that was surplused from the police, which was Mayor Dumas's old car. That car has close to 170,000 miles on it, and the transmission is just about gone. I pursued, again, trying to get another car from the police department, which we can't do that anymore. With being a green community, it doesn't allow us to transfer vehicles in between departments, unless it's, of course, a hybrid vehicle. So, although I'm not disappointed that I have to ask for a new vehicle, because I think it's a good, it's better than taking a gas guzzler from the police department, older one. So this is the same, the superintendent of DPW, Michael Tyler, has the exact same vehicle. It's an SUV. It's the base model of what the hybrid is.
Excellent.
So I'm here to ask for the transfer for that reason.
Great. Anybody have any questions for Bill?
Just a quick one. Bill, do you feel you require a four-wheel drive unit?
I do.
Okay.
Yes. There's we have sites, that at the outset of these sites, the roads aren't improved. That car, I don't like to try to drive down any unimproved driveways even, never mind some of these larger sites, even the high school site.
This would make your job easier
Yes,
than trying to go with a car or switching off with somebody with a truck.
Correct.
I understand that. I'm not truly in favor of this situation with the green vehicles because of the cost, but it is what it is.
Well, I mean, I guess, you have to think about the long term as well as the savings that's going to go on with fuel and in the environment. That's, come on, Peter, that's how we're supposed to think of these things.
To me, it was just a cost situation. They
I understand.
The police department was still
and it's a let's say it's a holdback from 21. It's a 21, not a 22.
Yeah.
The chip problem with all these new cars. If I waited for a 22, it would probably be sometime in the spring that it would be available.
Same car, Bill. It's going to be whether it's a 22 or a 21 10 years from now. It doesn't make any difference.
No, I understand. And I'm just letting you know that I'm sure that the 22 is more expensive.
Yeah,
Right.
possibly. There's nothing got any cheaper during this pandemic. That's for sure.
Does anybody else have any questions for Bill?
No.
I mean, just gas alone, you're going to be amazed because I drive a hybrid and I have a 9-gallon tank. I fill it for $20. I don't even know how long I go. I get like 55 miles to the gallon.
Yeah, Mike Tyler only raves about his.
It's unbelievable. It's amazing.
And just so that you know, too, the price that's in there, the car itself is about 45.
The lettering and
I'm sorry,
everything.
and then there's some lights that have to go in it, and
The lettering.
on the side. Yeah.
Yep.
This is readily available for you?
Car, he's holding it right now. This was an
great,
ordered
great.
car that the CMG guy from Colonial, where Mike got his, he had 3 coming in that were holdbacks, and he told me he would hold one for me.
Great.
So I have it. This is the actual quote to the penny of what it would cost.
Great.
And he said it would be in, if everything worked out, it would probably be in early to mid-October.
Nice.
Great.
All right, good. Anybody else? Well, thanks, Bill.
Thank you.
We'll let you go home now. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, so from the docket of September 7th, 2021, I entertain a motion to transfer $51,138.11 from account 1124100-578300 Citywide Reserve Fund for transfer to account 124010000-587065 Protective Inspections Purchase Vehicle for funds to purchase a 2021 Ford Explorer Hybrid Light Package and lettering for the Building Inspection Department.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. And I just have one more for Public Works. From the docket of September 7th, 2021, I entertain a motion to transfer $30 from account 1124100-578300 Citywide Reserve Fund for transfer to account 1650100-578020 Park bills from previous years for funds to pay an FY '21 invoice to Flynn Pest Control.
Second.
I assume nobody has any questions on this.
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. That's all the business I have for Public Works Committee. I'd like to call for an adjournment at 8:05.
Public safety?
Aye.
Second?
Second, yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned at 8:05. Thank you.
Public safety?
Yeah, it's canceled this evening.
Okay. I'd like
And
to call,
also, city property and claims is canceled this evening.
okay. I'd like to call capital improvements and city development to order at 8:06. Sitting on this committee is Councilor Waterman and Dolan. I have two matters to bring before you this evening. From the docket of September 7, 2021, I entertain a motion to transfer $47,000 from account 1124-1000-578380 Citywide Reserve for Capital to 1124-1000-599300 Citywide Transfer to Capital Fund, and to further transfer the $47,000 from account number 1124-1000-599300 Citywide Transfer to Capital Fund to fund 3558-499000 Fire Department roofs, other financing source for additional costs associated with the design and construction of the roofs at Briggs Corner and Union Street fire stations.
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Waterman. So, obviously, we're spending a lot of money on fire roofs. It was $50,000 to do the design work, and now it's $47,000 to additional to get the roofs done. And I was wondering why has that happened, so I went into my near map and found that they're all flat roofs, which means EPDM material, which is a rubberized material that has to be specially sealed. And you know me with capital improvements, roofs are very important, otherwise the asset deteriorates. So I'm recommending we approve this. I think I understand why it's expensive, because it's a flat roof and it's prevailing wage, and the cost of construction has gone up horribly since the pandemic started. And I had a bunch of material to give to you tonight, but I will instead give it to you when we have a full council meeting in September to illustrate to you the rapid rise in construction costs, all materials, drywall, steel, lumber, which is going to have a huge impact on the capital improvement budget next year, right across the board. So I'm very concerned about this, and I'm going to urge us to approve this tonight so that we can get it through the council in early September, so that we get started on this as early as we can before. Now the bid's already gone out, the RFP's already gone out, so we've got a contract ready to roll. So we're protected in this case, but not in future cases. And it's on my agenda to speak to the mayor when I sit down with him in September. And that concludes my comments. Do you have any questions?
I really appreciate the photographs that you sent, and it illustrated how terrible the condition of these roofs are.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
They look worse from underneath.
And
from up above.
and if you think about it, if we invest in it now, chances are, if we do ever get a public safety complex, we'll use these buildings for something else, hopefully. So, just mentioning roof on anything, makes my hair stand up on the back of my neck, but we have to do it, so.
EPDM rubber roof is probably good for 25 years. And if we have a public safety complex coming, I don't think we're going to see that in 10 years.
Right, I'm just saying, hopefully we can, if that ever comes to fruition at any point, we can use these buildings for something else, and it won't need a new roof at that point, so.
How
But I
old did you
support.
say those roofs are now?
I don't know how old the current roofs are,
I was just curious.
because they haven't been done since I've been on the council.
Oh,
And do you remember them being done in 14 years? No. So they're
Well, let's get it done.
yeah,
Yeah.
they've lived they've exceeded their expected life.
All right.
Yeah, okay, that's enough about
I guess
that.
we have to move fast before it price goes up again.
Right. So I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. From the docket of September 7, 2021, I entertain a motion to approve expending the fiscal year 22 Community Development Block Grant of approximately $16,000 awarded to the Council on Aging and approve any further grant amendments by the Council on Aging.
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Dolan. It occurred to me that maybe younger councilors did not know what SHINE was. So I have this little brochure, which I'm going to leave with Virginia, that describes the SHINE program. It's really about people over 65 looking for counseling in their Medicare benefits, which are extremely complicated and confusing to people over 65. And I don't care how intelligent you are, they're confusing. So I called Melissa to find out where is this $16,000 going. And in the SHINE program in Attleboro, we've got an executive director that's full-time. We have 2 part-time clerks, and we have 1 counselor. That 1 counselor is part-time, and the $16,000 goes to pay her salary. So that's where the money is going. And it's a very, very active program in the community, in the senior. It's probably the busiest office of all the services that the senior center provides. And that concludes my comments. Do you have any questions or comments?
I just remember them expressing the importance of this counselor, so I absolutely support it.
Wonderful.
I wanted to commend our executive director, Melissa, for doing the work to get the grant. That's an effort on her part.
Yes, yes. And to that point, I will say that in my conversation with Melissa, I found her to be very proactive. She wants to sit down with me before the capital improvement plan program begins in September to isolate the things that are in that building that might need attention this year, next year, or in 5 years, should they not move. So that is looking ahead, and that's what department heads should do, and I'm very happy to see her express that attitude.
Great.
Yep. So, no other further comments. I'll call for a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. That concludes the business that the Capital Improvement City Development Committee has to bring before you this evening. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's in order. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion. We are adjourned at 8:12.
Richard, do you need this copy back?
I do.
So we're good, right? Everybody's done? License
It's a wrap.
committee is canceled?
Ah,
The only issue I have is that I can't seem to get my laptop work on the new Wi-Fi system.